It's been 2 days since former President George W. Bush admitted to launching an unjustified and horrific invasion of Iraq, and he hasn't been arrested and extradited to The Hague yet. Roll the tape.
The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, too. Anyway, 75.
If you're wondering why I might be a little off today, it's because I've watched this video 100 times and my brain can no longer distinguish between reality and the nightmare simulation we all entered in years ago. My brain has turned into jelly. Meanwhile, regarding the war that the former president meant to bring up, the one in Ukraine, the U.S. commitment to it has now topped $50 billion after the Senate approved a massive spending package for Kyiv. The legislation was approved by the Senate with every single Democrat voting yay. It includes nearly $10 billion to replenish weapons stocks to Ukraine as it tries to fend off an illegal Russian invasion, plus $6 billion to help train Ukrainian soldiers and another $4 billion to assist in paying troops and collecting intelligence. It also included almost $14 billion in economic and food assistance. Passage of the bill was delayed after Senator Rand Paul demanded oversight mechanisms in it to track how the money is being spent and where the weapons are going. Final legislation ultimately included about $10 million in financing for oversight programs and provisions to keep tabs on weapons exchanges. The rapid passage of the Ukraine assistance measure stands in stark contrast to the lack of urgency from Congress to replenish pandemic response funds here in the U.S. Bloomberg reported that a $10 billion COVID relief bill, already whittled down and too small, has been further stalled in the legislature. Likely won't be passed until mid-June now, if at all. Congresswoman Madeleine Dean telling the outlet, quote, "Everybody is scattered. There's so much demand for our resources, for our time, for our energy, Ukraine being really urgent among them." Recall, it's been 2 months since Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi criticized a reporter for even asking about COVID funding, claiming it was a distraction from real issues like giving Ukraine a fuck ton of weapons.
I just want to dig into that a little bit more on the COVID relief.
This will be your third time.
My third time, what, ask about COVID relief?
Yeah.
Well, it's substantive. You like substantive questions, so I just want to
Yeah,
make sure
while people are dying in the Ukraine and all of that, yeah.
people are dying from COVID too.
Well, since then, the U.S. has gone on to surpass 1 million deaths in the pandemic. And it's hard to deny at this point that we are in the midst of yet another wave of infections. New daily cases are up over 50% from 2 weeks ago. Hospitalizations up nearly 30%. The CDC is projecting an increase in COVID deaths heading into the month of June. Without more pandemic funding from Congress, the White House claims it will not be able to invest in the necessary treatments and testing to stop COVID-19 spread, particularly if a new variant emerges. And the uninsured are most vulnerable, as a program that reimbursed their health costs for COVID treatments has now dried up. If only we can find a way to convert the howitzer cannons headed to Ukraine into vaccine delivery devices here at home. Better yet, just pass a fraction of the COVID relief funds and give them to me. I'll take them to the casino, give me an hour at the blackjack table, and we'll have the pandemic licked. Trust me, it'll work this time. I'm certain of it. Brings me no pleasure to report that we are all living in Steve Bannon's America. And I'm not even talking about all the racism. Recall how in the first days of Donald Trump's presidency, Bannon outlined his reactionary vision for the country. And the White House advisor promised to urge the president to work toward, quote, the deconstruction of the administrative state. Here's his explanation.
The way the progressive left runs is if they can't get it passed, they're just going to put it in some sort of regulation in an agency. That's all going to be deconstructed.
Of course, that's a lie. Executive agencies were given express authority by Congress to make rules and regulations and to enforce them. And that's how things have worked since the New Deal era. But, like I said, we're living in Bannon's country now. On Wednesday, judges on a federal appeals court agreed with his vision of hamstringing regulatory agencies. And while they didn't buy into Bannon's mashed potato brain claiming that Congress never gave agencies the authority to regulate, they did pull something else ridiculous out of their ass. They ruled that it was unconstitutional for Congress to have ever given the agencies the power to enforce their own rules in the first place. The case involved a hedge fund manager who sued the Securities and Exchange Commission for enforcing regulations that prohibited him from defrauding investors. He claimed that the SEC unconstitutionally denied him the right to a jury trial by enforcing its rules with an administrative law judge instead. And astonishingly, judges on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals agreed. Now, the ruling only applies to the circuit, which covers Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, one of the most right-wing appellate circuits in the country. But the Supreme Court would probably love to get a chance to affirm the decision, which basically said that federal agencies can't enforce their own regulations, even in open and shut cases, if the matters don't involve, quote, public rights. Those include, quote, wholly private tort, contract and property cases, and a vast range of other cases. In other words, agency enforcement of most economic regulations is unconstitutional. 26 different agencies employ administrative law judges overseeing things like environmental law, labor law, workplace safety rules, financial regulations, telecommunications rules, housing regulations, and much more. Now, it's still unclear what the implications of the Fifth Circuit ruling will be, but if I had to bet on how it will impact the country, I would bet everything on worse. We'll definitely follow this case, Jarchese versus the SEC, especially if the agency appeals, which it probably shouldn't. This thing should be as far away from the Supreme Court as possible. And finally, the world's richest man paid $250,000 in 2018 to settle allegations of sexual misconduct. The story from Insider broke on Thursday, and it alleges that Elon Musk exposed himself to a flight attendant on his private plane who was giving him a massage. The attendant claimed that Musk also touched her leg inappropriately and offered to buy her a horse if she performed sexual favors on him. The incident happened during a trip to London in 2016. Musk trying the old Jeffrey Epstein move. Wonder where he learned that one from. The flight attendant refused and was later retaliated against by having her shifts cut. She filed a complaint against SpaceX, and during arbitration, which Musk personally attended, she was given $250,000 in exchange for promising not to sue. The attendant also said that she was encouraged by the company to pay for massage training out of her own pocket, in order to keep Musk satisfied on the plane. Before this story broke, Musk tried to prime people for it by claiming he was about to be a victim of dirty tricks because he came out as a Republican. Musk tweeted, quote, "In the past, I voted Democrat because they were mostly the kindness party. But they have become the party of division and hate, so I can no longer support them and will vote Republican. Now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold." Well, as others have noted, that tweet was sent just a few hours after Insider initially asked Musk for comment on the story. The outlet reached out to him at 9 a.m., and Musk was sending this tweet out about 5 hours later, probably after he talked with his lawyers. Now, Musk remains one of the biggest fucking losers on the planet. I'm going to be announcing a rich dick here on the show momentarily. It won't be Elon because it's good to mix things up on occasion, but Musk is forever a rich dick. The king of the rich dicks. The eternal form of a rich dick. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our new videos. Also, if you want to see Means Morning News in its complete form, not just the clips we post here, head on over to Means TV and get access to all our new episodes and our entire backlog, plus tons of other great movies and original TV shows.